Hello. Oh, there we are. Good evening and welcome all. If you could find a seat, we can begin this evening's program. Thank you. We are ready. Good evening. If you could find a seat, we will begin this evening's program. I see one more, and here we go. Good evening. My name is Denise Miller, and I'm the immediate past president of the Rossmoor Homeowners Association. Welcome to our audience. Thank you, residents and friends, for attending tonight. And we'd also, of course, like to thank the Rossmoor Homeowners Association Board of Directors members who are here and who've worked so hard to put this event together, as well as all of the candidates who have chosen to participate tonight. Marion will go over some of the rules in just one moment, but if you don't mind, I guess I'm negligent. I should introduce the two moderators for this evening. The first is Marion Last. She'll give a little wave. There she is. Thank you, Marion. And Bob Sokol. Thank you, Bob. Having said that, before we get to the nitty-gritty, how about if we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marion, would you like to address the crowd with some of the ground rules of this evening?
I guess I can. I should probably stand, but can you still see me? I mean, I am standing, and you probably still think I'm sitting. Just a little background. Each of the candidates, hi, good evening. Each of the candidates were given a request to submit some pre-event questions, and we did receive some, and they will be posted on our rossmoor.com website. So if you want to look at that information, you can find it. Also, tonight's event is being shown on YouTube, and that'll also be accessible off of our website. So right now, what I'm going to do is sit down and go over a couple of the rules that I will be addressing. Our candidate that's on the stage right now is Derek Chan, and he'll be running for the congressional district. What we're going to do tonight, so this is generally speaking for all candidates, is we have a series of questions that we'll be asking that we have gotten from the community. And Bob Sokol and myself, will be asking those questions in the order in which we've assigned ourselves. And you'll be given a 1-minute introduction, 1 minute to let us learn a little about yourself. And you'll have 3 minutes to respond to each of the questions, and then we'll ask you to do closing remarks after all the questions have been asked. You'll be guided through, don't worry. You don't have to remember all of this. Frank Facey is our timer tonight, and we have Josh Hernandez, who is part of our audio team, who is the one that put this beautiful audio component together tonight. I want to thank everybody there for that as well. And so Frank will be raising a red folder, which means you have 30 seconds, but you'll probably get a notice of that too, and then you'll hear just such a beautiful sound once your time is up.
Understood.
We'll all stand up and sing. Anyway, Derek, we welcome you, and we will begin. I have the honor of asking the first question. I've just been advised that there's a 2-minute segment. You have 2 minutes for your opening remarks. So if you go ahead and give us a little introduction of yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address you all. I am here to proudly answer any questions that you have. A little bit about who I am. My name is Derek Tran. I am running for California's 45th District, the congressional seat. I am an attorney by trade. I'm a father of three. I consider that probably my most important job. I have an 8, 6, and 2-year-old. My wife and I own a small pharmacy in Anaheim. She's the pharmacist. I've been an attorney for over 10 years, where I dedicated my practice to really representing employees who's been wrongfully terminated, discriminated, and harassed at the workplace. I did this using my own funds for a long time, and I got such great satisfaction in being able to restore dignity to the clients that I represented. And I really see this run for Congress as a way for me to continue to serve my community and my country. At 18 years old, I enlisted in the military because my parents were Vietnamese refugees. And growing up, I had this great gratitude for everything that this country has done for my family, from giving us the ability to come up into this country and living off of government assistance such as food stamps, WIC, and Section 8 housing. We use those programs to uplift ourselves, and really when we got off those programs, I was just so grateful of the opportunities that without telling my parents and my friends, I enlisted. And that was really my love, began my love for public service, and that's why I'm here today. So thank you for this opportunity.
All right. I'll be asking you the first question, and you'll have 3 minutes to respond. How will you advocate for the specific needs of suburban communities like Rossmoor when making decisions on national policies in Congress?
Thank you, Marion, for that question. I think what this boils down to for me when it comes to the specific needs of my community is the fact that you have so many politicians out there that do not want to listen to their community, that they don't want to come out and find out from the community what's going on, what are the priorities of the community. Where I think I'm going to be extremely different from the incumbent is the fact that I want to make sure that my communities, the leaders in my communities, have a seat at the table. So when I make decisions, I want to be able to check back in with my community to find out from them how this is going to impact them should I make a decision in Washington, D.C. That's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. So this may sound a little bit like a follow-up, and in total we have 4 questions, so you can kind of plan your time. But what methods specifically will you use to stay accessible and responsive to Rossmoor residents, to our community, and how will you stay connected and aware of our evolving needs?
Yeah, I think showing up is half the battle, right? Being able to come out and be with my community, be with the community of Rossmoor is such an important thing. I understand that there's 13 cities in my district, and it's going to be very difficult, but I anticipate that I'm going to be coming back every week. I'm not moving my family out to Washington, D.C. I'll be on that plane Thursday night, flying back to California, back to this district, so then I can make sure that I have not just my ears, my staff on the ground, but that I'm here listening to you all and making sure that I show up for this community and the rest of the communities in my district.
Thank you. Okay. Your question number 3. We'll wait for the timer to reset. Thank you. What specific taxation and spending policies will you advocate to change, and how would those changes impact the cumulative deficit?
Thank you for that question, Marion. One of the things that I do know is that the rich can afford to pay more taxes. I think there's not enough, the fairness in our tax system prevents the super uber wealthy, I'm talking about the billionaires out there, in paying their fair share. That's something we need to address. Additionally, the SALT deductions, that's very unfair for homeowners. So in Congress, I would like to take a look, and I think there's SALT deduction expirations that are coming up as well. But we got to make sure that people who need these breaks the most, the homeowners, they should be able to deduct their taxes fully and not be capped out. And that's the problem with the Trump salt tax caps that are in place today.
Thank you.
Excellent. And this was probably the theme or question that we got the most community response from. Inflation's on the mind of many community members today. What specific steps will you take in your capacity to sustainably help lower inflation?
Yeah. Look, I get it. I have 3 young kids. I know how expensive it is to go to the grocery store, to go to Costco every week because we need diapers or food. With regards to how we address inflation, I think we have to look at this from a market standpoint. There is greedflation that's happening, and I see that as a consumer rights lawyer. You know, as an attorney that represents employees, you know that I know, and I've seen companies take advantage of the consumers. And this doesn't change whether it's at the supermarket or if you're paying for a vehicle at the dealership, right? There has to be stronger laws in place, and VP Harris a few weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago now, talked about this issue, that corporations out there are taking advantage of consumers by overpricing and making billions of dollars every year off of our hard-earned money. We have to make sure we hold them accountable. And a prime example of this was about a year and a half back, maybe 2 years ago, we had these egg prices that were going up, and it was extremely high. Turns out that it wasn't a supply issue. It was actually the corporation, the farmers out there, they got together and they decided to inflate all the prices. Why? To screw over the consumers so they can make more money. That's something that we have to hold them all accountable for, is to make sure that corporations are not doing this to us. And furthermore, I would also add that I'm a firm believer in capitalism, 100%. But, you know, what we're seeing today is not enough competition out there. You know, if you're following the news and you hear about Kroger's and Albertson and how they want to merge, that's not going to do us any good as consumers. That's one large corporation that's going to be able to control the prices when we go to the supermarket. So we have to support full and fair competition out there, period.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Your moderators just made an executive decision that you will have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Thank you. I'll say this. My entire life has been about public service. And if you compare my experience and who I am to the current incumbent who's in office today, you know, there's public service and self-service. And that's what we've seen from Michelle Steele. At 18, I dedicated my life to serving my country out of no reason at all other than to give back to the country that gave my parents this opportunity, that gave me this opportunity to succeed and live in this great country of ours. As a lawyer, I dedicated my practice to representing individuals, not corporations, that were discriminated, harassed. My heart has always been with the Davids versus the Goliaths out there. And I will continue to take on these large corporations when I get to Congress. That is my commitment to my community. And I truly believe in being present, making sure that I am here for my community. And that's why I'm keeping my family here. I'm going to fly back every week so I can be with not just my family, but with my constituents, with my community. That is my commitment to all of my cities, to all of my communities out here. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly am blessed to be here, and thank you for taking the time out of your night to listen to me. And we got some other candidates here, so I'm going to yield the floor to them. Thank you so much.
Joining us. We appreciate your appearing with us. And next up will be the Assembly District 70 candidates. If you'll give me 1 minute to put their name tags up and allow the moderators to have a sip of water, we'll get them seated in just 1 second.
We also would like to welcome the audience to helping themselves to any of the water over here and some of the snacks. Compliments of our hosts and RHA. I don't know why we can't hear you. Is your...
They told me it
They
could be
came in
turned
big for that. All right. Okay. All right, we'll begin. I'll just mention again that we are allowing for 2-minute introductions and then our questions. I think you got a taste of that. Jimmy was here and we kind of went over it a little bit. We'd like to welcome you both tonight for that. So what I'd like to do is, did you guys... Well, then we're going to start with you, Tree Toft, don't mind, with a 2-minute introduction, and then followed by Jimmy Found. Thank you. Just tell us a little about yourself and how wonderful you are, and you know why we like you, and how we'll like you even more.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. I'm Assemblyman Tree Toft, and first I'd like to thank Rossmoor Homeowner Association for organize this forum, so everyone could be able to have an opportunity to hear from us. I was born in Saigon, Vietnam. I came to this country in 1992. At the time, I was 19 years old. So when I came here, I went to school. I got a degree in political science, studying international relations. And after I got a degree, I got a job. I involved with my community. And 2006, many members in the community, they came to me, they asked me to run for office, Westminster City Council. I did, and I got elected. And 6 years after that, there was an opportunity came up, and I ran for mayor of the city, Westminster, and I got elected, and I became the first Vietnamese American elected mayor in the nation. And 2 years ago, there was another opportunity came up. A lot of members from the community, they came to me, they convinced me to run for Assembly District. I did, and I got elected. So I have experience, work from the local government, and I believe that an elected official, we need to continue to involve with the community. We need to make ourselves be at the community events, listen to all the concerns from the community. In the last 2 years, I have an honor to serve your community, and I believe that I continue to be your voice in Sacramento.
Thank you. Jimmy, 2 minutes, please.
Sure. Thank you, Marion. My name is Jimmy Pham. I am a candidate for State Assembly District 70. I'm also the chair of the Traffic Commission in the city of Westminster. I am relatively newer to politics. I'm sure none of you have heard my name. You know, I'm a son also of refugees. I'm a son of Vietnamese refugees. My parents came over in 1975. I was born here in 1977. I saw the struggles they went through. My mom was an SEIU union member, 9 people in our families. We struggled. We lived in Buena Park. We lived in Santa Ana. We lived in multiple cities. My dad was a business owner in Westminster. My dad was one of the founders of the Little Saigon community. 1988, he was able to bring down the Governor George Deukmejian, and they were able to build a place here, the Vietnamese refugees that they can call themselves, that they were used to being displaced from a war in 1975 that they lost their entire country. I grew up seeing this as a child. I was 11 years old when that happened. When I decided to go to undergraduate, I went to UC Irvine here, and then I decided to go to law school. When I advocated as an attorney, the first thing I fell in love with was corporate law. I said, okay, I want to be a corporate attorney. I work for in-house. And every day I went to work, I woke up and I helped corporations make money. And I said, you know what? Is this the purpose of my life? This is what I want to do.
30 seconds.
So when I took my first immigration case, my cousin went to immigration court and he was being deported. And I saw how the judges, the prosecutors were taking advantage of him. And so I switched my role, I helped him, and now I'm his immigration attorney. I practiced for the last 6 years. This has led me to politics because I want to now fight for the people, and I'm here to do that for you, and I'm here to listen, so thank you so much. That's my story.
Thank you, Tri, and thank you, Jimmy. So as we ask these questions, there will be a total of 5 questions. You'll each have 3 minutes to respond. For each of the 5 questions, Tri, you will go first. Jimmy, you will go second. And then for the close at the very end, Jimmy, you will go first, and Tri, you will go second for your closing remarks. So the first question, Tri, what steps will you take to improve communication with your constituents here in Rossmoor and make sure our concerns are addressed in Sacramento?
That's a really, really good question. I really appreciate that. For the last 2 years, my office, I organized more than 20 town hall meetings. And actually, last year, right here at this facility, I had a town hall meeting with District Attorney Todd Spitzer, and we discussed about the issue of fentanyl and many issues regarding crime in the state of California. I've been in many events of Rossmoor, like I think the event in December and probably a couple of weeks ago, there was a really, really nice event, I think, at this facility to honor our men and women who are in uniforms. And that's a really beautiful event. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank all the I really want to I want to show my appreciation to sacrifices of our men and women. So I've been received many email, call, and have many opportunity to engage with different community in my district. And I love Rossmoor community, really quiet, really beautiful, the people here really friendly, and I love that. So I think that for the last 2 years, I've been in different community in my district. And I believe that I kept my promise when I ran for office 2 years ago. I mainly focus on affordability, homelessness, and public safety. And for the last 2 years, I introduced several bills, and some of them got signed by the governor, and some of my bills were including a study of criminal activity in the state of California. So, and that bill was actually signed by the governor last year. So the state going to study the crime in the state of California, and from then the state will have a solution in the future to tackle on the crime. And recently, one of my bills was signed by the governor as well to give the city more resources for homeless shelter.
Thank you, Tree. Jimmy, same question. What steps will you take to improve communication with your constituents in Rossmoor and make sure our concerns are addressed in Sacramento?
Sure. So I understand that both myself and my opponent are from the city of Westminster, so we are both reside there. Rossmoor is an unincorporated city, so it may not get the same resources as a city. I feel like if I was elected into this office, I would bring town halls here. We need to speak with the constituents to understand what the problems here. I don't live here. I don't know yet until I speak and I sit down and I give the town halls to speak with all the constituents. What are the concerns here and what are the internal fights going on in the battles? So I think that's really important. We need to outreach better to Rossmoor, especially because this district covers 8 to 10 cities. It's a big district, and we want to, as an assembly member, I want to help all the districts, and we have to send our resources out there. Now, I'm interested in bringing out a program called There Ought to Be a Law, okay? There ought to be a law will allow the constituents basically to propose better legislation. I want the legislation to come from the constituents. In a way, I'm the vehicle to bridge the gap between Sacramento and this district. And so we need to have more town halls. We need more events to come out to understand what the issues are for the city. And as your next elected assembly member, I plan to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. Tree, the next question will be for you. How would you balance the need for affordable housing and preserving the suburban character of communities like Rossmoor?
Yes, affordable housing, I think that is one of the demand for many cities, and actually that is one of the concerns that the need for housing in different regions in the state of California, and it really depends on neighbor to neighbor. For Rossmoor community, this is beautiful neighborhood, and I think that majority of property in this community that single family home. So for the last 2 years, what I try to do that I try to work with my colleagues in Sacramento to provide more resources for affordable housing, because we all understand that right now housing is a high demand in the state of California, especially for our senior. They have a fixed income, and they really, really need help for affordable housing. And I think that for the last 2 years, I have fought for the seniors. I have fought for affordable housing, because when I ran for office 2 years ago, affordability is one of my platform. I fought for our community. I introduced bill to lower the tax. I try to reduce regulation to encourage the small businesses to grow, because I'm a small business owner myself. So we need to have less regulation, encourage for the business to grow, and we need to support our law enforcement. That's the key. We need to support our law enforcement. We need to provide more resources for our law enforcement so they have their confidence to serve our community. And I believe that we need to invest in infrastructure by supporting our worker. I got support from the Building Trade Association, because they recognize my work in Sacramento. So I strongly support our worker. I strongly support middle class family, because that is my platform. We need to provide more opportunity, lower the tax, support Prop 13. We need to protect the value of our property. And if we can do together, I believe that we will improve the quality of life.
Thank you. Jimmy, I'll read the question again.
Sure.
How would you balance the need for affordable housing with preserving the suburban character of communities like Rossmoor?
That's a great question, Marion. I think it's a undeniable truth that we do need more to build more homes and affordable housing in the state of California. Okay, we have a serious homelessness issue, especially in the city I live in, Westminster and Garden Grove. People are moving out of California. The price of homes, the living cost is skyrocketing right now. And people just cannot afford to live here, and living costs and wages and all that just don't match, okay? So we do need to build more homes, and we can work with developers, we can work with commercials, and we're doing a pretty decent job right now in Westminster. We have the Westminster Mall that's being renovated, and hopefully will turn into mixed-use properties, okay? So that's the goal. Now I understand also the issue in an affluent area like Rossmoor or Huntington Beach, that they don't want affordable housing. Sometimes it brings the value of the lower Section 8 housing of it down. So it just comes to a situation of what can we work with. I'm an attorney by trade. I negotiate deals. I mean, I understand there's two sides of an issue, okay? But as an assembly member, I would pledge to work with the city localities, okay, to make sure that, look, we need to build more housing. We need to choose where the most efficient places to put the homes. And we have to work in understanding that there's homeowners here that understand that the price of the homes may go down. So I don't have an answer for you, because I need to sit down and talk with you guys, and I want to know where the constituents stand on that, and so we can decide what the best. But we do need housing. We have a big homelessness problem, and we work with each of the localities to get the job done.
Thank you.
Great. For our next question, Tree, I'll begin with you. What specific legislation would you propose or support to directly benefit unincorporated areas in communities like Rossmoor?
I think that all the issues that we are facing right now, whether you are unincorporated or you are city, that we have to deal with, like high cost of living, inflation, and crime. It happens everywhere. So everywhere in the state of California, we have to deal with those issues. And what I try to do for the last 2 years, I introduced a bill to make sure that we lower taxes. I introduced a bill to make sure that we provide opportunity for the student who could able to advance their career at a community college. I introduced a bill to make sure that we support our law enforcement. So our law enforcement, they are frontline people, and they sacrifice their life for the sake of the community. And I just want to make sure that I lower the cost of energy. And this morning, it happened this morning, one of the bills that I co-authored to lower the gas tax 30% per gallon, and it failed in the committee. For the last 2 years, we fought so hard. If you remember, like last year, there was a K-9 bill, and we pushed so hard, we fought so hard, we worked with the law enforcement of Rossa State. So at the end of the day, the author of that bill, they pulled the bill. For the K-9 bill, the author, they came up with the idea that the K-9 not allowed to buy the suspect. That is ridiculous. So we pushed back. We worked with our law enforcement. We just to make sure that bill got pulled. And at the end of the day, the author of the bill got pulled. So we gave hope to our law enforcement. So the issue for unincorporated or incorporated, but I understand the issue of Rossmoor. You all want to be independent. That's what I learned from 2 years ago. And I think I totally respect that. I love that. So the people in Rossmoor, they want to call themselves, they're proud to be Rossmoor. Not lost out, but Rossmoor. I know that, and I respect that, and I love that. So that is the identity of Rossmoor community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tree. Jimmy, same question. What specific legislation would you propose or support to directly benefit unincorporated communities like Rossmoor?
Well, I definitely believe that an unincorporated community should have the same voice, as other incorporated communities in the district. I think specifically when I look at Rossmoor, I look at the value of the homes, I look at the good schooling, and I see that a rise in crime is really going to affect these kids who are going to school. So I believe that public safety is really important here. People move here because they want a safe place for their children to grow up, to go to good schools. I would enact legislation to continue to fight against heinous crimes, people going, fentanyl dealers. I am a proponent of repealing or reforming Prop 47, which now is 36 on a ballot initiative. I think that's really important. I think what that does is it aggregates all offenses, and so it comes into one. If it's over the 950 threshold, then the prosecutor can prosecute for a felony. I think it's important. It's also able to crack down on serial retail thieves. You walk out to your local CVS, Walgreens pharmacy, and you can see someone walk in and steal a shampoo, and they can't do anything. They bring in a backpack, and CVS won't allow their shopkeepers to stop them. So we need to legislate from Sacramento to make sure that our communities are safe. Public safety is really important. I want to point this out. My opponent has voted against allocating $20 million in funding to aid law enforcement to take down hardened violent criminals, fentanyl dealers. So also he may say that he might help public safety. He voted against that in the legislature. So that's something that's really important to me, and in making sure that people are safe and children are safe. I grew up in a pretty safe neighborhood growing up. My parents had a house in Irvine. They had a business in Westminster. I want to have the same for Rossmoor. I know how it is. I know safety is really important to the community. So that's what I'm going to work on.
Thank you.
I'm going to reverse it. Jimmy, I'm going to ask you first the next question. Did you get a sip of water before we begin?
Sure.
We won't have that count as your time. I learned that from Denise. Okay. And the time doesn't begin until after the question is read.
After the question, sure.
Okay. I'll do
Thank you,
fairness.
Marion.
What are your plans for improving the local infrastructure and public safety in suburban areas, and how would Rossmoor benefit from these plans?
Okay, so I think I kind of answered the question with the public safety and the infrastructure. We do need to bring funding back to the district, okay? I have been up to Sacramento 6 times in my campaign for this office, okay? I have sat in the gallery, okay? I have looked at other assembly members who have brought, Sharon Quirk-Silver brought $5 million back to their YMCA, okay? My opponent brought $1 million back to Fountain Valley, okay? In 2 years of working, he's brought $1 million back. We need to bring the funding back so that we can build infrastructure projects, okay? Assemblymember Marisucci in LA brought $231 million back for the rail project. That's my job if you elect me, to go up and fight for my constituents. That's my job to represent 8 to 10 people in 8 to 10 cities to go up and take and fight for those tax dollars that everybody pays here to bring it back to our district where it works for us. So it goes to infrastructure projects, it goes to public safety programs, it goes to social programs. That's what I do as a litigator. I'm an immigration attorney. I fight for immigrants. I'm going to take that same desire and fight for the residents of this community.
Thank you. Tree, I'll repeat the question. What are your plans for improving the local infrastructure and public safety in suburban areas, and how would Rossmoor benefit from these plans?
I believe that I have a proven record for the last 2 years. I introduced bill to support our law enforcement. I introduced bill, and my bill I mentioned earlier, AB 1080, is a study that the state need to conduct a study for the crime in the state of California for the last decade because of Prop 47 was signed into law last year. So at least the state, we need to have a study. We need to collect all the data for the last decade. And from then, we're going to have a solution to provide more resources for all the local government. I want to respond a little bit about my opponent. He mentioned one of the bills that, he accused me that I didn't support law enforcement. That bill, AB 107 and 108, raised 18 billion tax increases on businesses. And that bill raised 24 billion on new taxes on MCO. And that bill provide 5.4 billion for free health care for illegal immigrants. So you need to hear the other side of the story. I've been endorsed by every single law enforcement across the state of California, Highway Patrol, and any public safety association across the state of California. I got support from the police, got support from the fire, I got support from the middle class family. So I believe that for the last 2 years, I had a record to prove. I brought back to Fun Valley to help the city of Fun Valley to build up accessible park for the children, $1 million. For the last 2 years, I have a bill signed by the governor that show you that I have a skill to come up with a bipartisan bill. And we've been fighting every single day in Sacramento. Only 18 of us, 18 Republicans, 62 Democrats. What's the reason for you? What is the reason to elect another Democrat? 62 Democrats. Is that healthy environment? You ask yourself. But I pushed back a lot of bad bills, and we succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tree. Jimmy, I'm going to give this question to you, and it's a long question with a lot of context. There is a question coming, so hang in there for me, okay?
Sure.
So, property taxes are the largest and most important source of general purpose revenues, accounting for almost 95% of all GPRs. The property tax allocation formula for each California county was set in 1979 by Assembly Bill 8. Since that time, Orange County's population has nearly doubled from 1.8 to 3.2 million, with no change to the county's property tax allocation proportion. Specifically, Orange County receives the lowest property tax revenue allocation share at 5% of all 58 counties in California. The question, ready?
Sure.
I gotta make sure I'm ready. What can you do to address this disparity in revenues for our Orange County communities and specific to the money allocated for Rossmoor?
Okay, so if I can ask you,
Yeah.
so I want to make sure, it's a complex question.
Right.
The property taxes have stayed the same, as my understanding, over many years, right? And so you're saying that, what is my position on whether we should raise these taxes or not? Is that the question?
No, so the property taxes are allocated. So we receive 5% share as a county, which we've received from 1979 forward. Our population and our number of residences have grown greater than the rate in California, but we're still only receiving 5% share. So we're paying more and still receiving only a 5% share. What can be done to bring a greater proportion of that revenue that we give to the state through our property taxes to invest that back in Orange County and communities like Rossmoor?
Got it. So, you know, I'm always been a person that believes in what's fair and what's not. And sometimes we're stuck in some of the, you know, old ways, and maybe, you know, property taxes may stay the same even though we're spending more money to the state. This is an issue, obviously, I've not been aware of until you brought it up now. And I believe in equating or making that a fair distribution. Now, again, the money that we send to the state, and we do send a lot of money to the state through property taxes, income taxes, corporate taxes. I pay all those as a business owner, okay? What is that doing to work for us, right? And so if specifically the question is what I'm gonna do about it, well, we'll take a look at the problem and we'll see what we can legislate on that. But overall, we should bring more than $1 million back in 2 years from the state. Because I'm a business owner, 456,000 residents in this district are paying taxes to the state. Is that money coming back to work for us for infrastructure projects, for social programs, for the children, for the community? That's what to bettering the roads? I think we should bring more back, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's how the money's going to come back to offset these property taxes that are being paid for.
Thank you. Tree, I'll read the whole dissertation again for you. Property taxes are the largest and most important source of general purpose revenues, accounting for almost 95% of all the GPRs. The property tax allocation formula for each California county was set in 1979 by Assembly Bill 8. Since that time, the Orange County's population has nearly doubled from 1.8 million to 3.2 million, with no change to the county's property tax allocation proportion. Specifically, Orange County receives the lowest property tax revenue allocation share of 5% of all the 58 counties in California. The question: what can you do to address this disparity in revenues to our Orange County communities, and specifically the money allocated to Rossmoor?
Yes, I really appreciate that question. So basically, that if you ask that question, I think that I would like to bring you back to Prop 13. It was passed in 1978. So if I remember correctly, I think that when Prop 13 was passed in 1978, so the city and the county, they have their own formula. So whatever that they implement before Prop 13 passed in 1978, so that is, I think that's the cap. The issue you raised actually was an issue that we from the city of Westminster, we have to deal with, because property tax that city of Westminster received compared to Garden Grove a lot less than Garden Grove, a lot less than many other cities, because the past city council before 1978, they came up with a formula. And you know, when Prop 13 was passed in 1978, so everything is like freeze. You have that formula because you already implement that, so you will receive less money. So if that is an issue in Rossmoor, what I am going to do, I need to sit down with the County of Orange, and I think I need to discuss with Board Supervisor, the County of Orange, so understand and reevaluate their formula. And since then, we can work it out with my college to come up something that really, really fair to all the region in the state of California. I understand the question, because that's what we had to deal with like years and years and years in the city of Westminster. If I understand your question correctly, it's all about Prop 13 in 1978.
Thank you, Tree. So we'll give you each time for your closing. Jimmy, we'll start with you. We'll give you 2 minutes, and then after that, Tree, we'll give you 2 minutes to close.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Marion, and thank you for everybody for being here today. I know it's a long week and everybody is taking time. I'm very honored to run for this office. You know, I am an immigration attorney by trade, and I got to this point because I wanted to fight for the little guy. I wanted to fight for the people that were being taken advantage of, disenfranchised, you know. And so I have been a Westminster resident for the last 5 years. I have, in my city, have seen multiple things in chaos that I just could not even fathom to see. And that's why it brought me to run for office. It takes a lot of courage to run for office, I would say, especially for someone who's new like me. But for me, the best thing to do is to step into the game and change it so it's better for our city and for our district. There are multiple cities that are facing a lot of problems right now. Huntington Beach, Westminster, I'm sure Rossmoor has their internal problems. And because I have advocated for a living, I love the people, I love Orange County, have deep roots here. I was born in Anaheim, I've been here my whole life. I love my community in Little Saigon. I love the community that I grew up in outside, and I'm back here because I want to give. My parents have instilled in me as a son of refugees to public service, and I kindly ask for your support for my campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Tree?
I'm so honored to serve you all for the last 2 years. I believe that I kept my promise when I ran for office 2 years ago. So I introduced bill to improve the quality of life. I main focus on issue of affordability, public safety, and homelessness. I came to this country when I was 19 years old. My family and I, we came here for freedom. So you're all aware that the fall of Saigon in 1975, the communists in the north, they took over the south. And my father, who was imprisoned by the communist regime for many years. We came here in 1992 for freedom. And I want to give back to America. America has given me so much. I want to pay back. That's why I ran for office. And I came from the local office. I believe that I've been engaged with community for the last 2 years. I show up in events. I monthly update what's happening in Sacramento to all the districts. And I respond to email, and I believe that I will be your voice. And in Sacramento, I continue to fight for you. I continue to improve your quality of life. And I want to thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate that.
Tree and Jimmy, thank you for investing your time in supporting our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I on? It's on. Thank you. If you'd like to stand up and do a quick stretch before we introduce our next candidate, I'll clear the seats and put up some fresh water. Just a quick wiggle, and we'll resume.
And it was supposed to be 1 minute, and that section was supposed to last.
Am I on? I'm on. Could everyone please take their seats? We're going to resume the candidate forum. Thank you. Thank you for finding your seats. And a quick reminder to silence your cell phones, please.
Not if there's an Amber Alert. There you go, thank you.
I'm getting feedback. I'll step back. Does that work? Is that better?
You gotta speak to the side. Yeah.
You don't need to hear much from me anyway. Thank you to the Assembly candidates that we just heard. We appreciate their coming. Next up is Dr. Frances Marquez. She is running for a position on the Orange County Board of Supervisors, representing our district, obviously.
Okay, you want me to do that?
Well,
Thank you.
Sorry, we're getting feedback. Sorry. Welcome, Frances. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for having me tonight. It's an honor.
We are asking all of our candidates tonight to give a 2-minute introduction. So it's in essence to give us a little flavor of who you are and why you're so wonderful and why we need to vote for you and that kind of thing. But if you would be so kind and share with us who you are, and we'll listen intently. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight to address everyone. My name's Dr. Frances Marquez. I'm running for Orange County Board of Supervisors, District 1, and I'm running because I care deeply about people. I was raised by my parents, Frank and Sally Marquez. I'm the daughter of parents who were segregated. I grew up in Cyprus. My parents moved us here when I was a little girl in 1974. I live in the home that I was raised in with my mother, who's 91. I take care of her, so I'm a candidate caregiver. I'm also a council member in Cyprus, and that's just a little bit of the background of who I am. I want to go back to the point that, I was raised by parents who worked very hard to put 6 kids through school. I'm the 5th daughter. I have 4 older sisters and a younger brother. And my dad ran my grandparents' family farm literally right down the 605 freeway off of Slauson Avenue in Santa Fe Springs. They farmed where the Whittier Presbyterian Hospital is at, by St. Paul High School, all that region where Home Depot's at. And my grandparents started the farm in 1932. I have long roots. My grandfather crossed the U.S.-Mexico border when he was 11 in 1917, worked for other farmers, saved money, and then bought property in Santa Fe Springs. And so we grew up selling vegetables at my grandparents' farm. My mom and my dad met when they were 14 and got married and had us, and we moved to Cyprus, like I said, in '74, and I spent my summers, and all of my siblings and I, selling vegetables at the farm in Santa Fe Springs. And I always say every kid should have a farm and to have the experience of selling vegetables. And so we work very hard. We value the hard work of families. I said, that's it. So that's a little bit of the background of me. I can sprinkle in stuff later.
Can you hear me okay? No, you'll have an opportunity. And I love the way you referenced the roots, and then you referenced the farm. So there was a good analogy there in having it be very symbolic. I was trying to be funny with that. But in any case, I will be the first to ask you question number 1, please. And you will have 3 minutes to respond to each one of these questions. Question 1 is, how do you plan to engage and communicate with Rossmoor residents on a regular basis to ensure that our voices are heard at the county level?
So I want to tell you that I went to UCLA and had an opportunity to be an intern for Congressman Edward Roybal. The downtown LA federal building's named after him. He was 74 and I was 19 when I interned for him. So, and he sent me to Washington DC, came back home, and his chief staff took me under his wing. So since that time, I was able to work for another 2 members of Congress and then 2 in Washington DC. And constituent casework is something I love. I've done it for those 4 members. I've helped seniors, veterans, youth. And so that's at the heart of who I am. The delivery of services is critical to me. So upon getting elected, I will come to Rossmoor and we will sit down and meet and talk about the issues that are critical, things that need to be addressed. I want to make sure that you, all of you, everybody in Rossmoor has a strong delivery of services. That's the key reason why I'm running. It's really critical. That's it. That's what public servants do. And in this district, we've had a huge issue with corruption. I want to shift that focus to residents. This is really about you. And the public service and me serving at the county level is about taking care of everyone in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. You may have touched on some of this in your prior answer. I'll give you the question. As an unincorporated community in the 1st District, the County Board of Supervisors is directly responsible for our governance and oversight. What assurances will you give Rossmoor that our specific financial and other governance interests will not be lost or diminished, given the other municipalities and unincorporated communities in the 1st District that you'll be representing?
So I'm familiar with unincorporated areas because my grandparents' farm was in an unincorporated area of Whittier. And so I see that the unincorporated areas sometimes don't have sidewalks or the regular things that cities have. I'm about equity. I want to make sure that Rossmoor, if there's things you guys need, that we will have them related to public safety, any healthcare issues. The county runs the healthcare plan. And one of the reasons I want to point out that I'm running is that in 2013 and 2014, I was a legislative director for Congressman Alan Lowenthal. I worked 6 days a week, 2 years straight. I lived at the Capitol directing federal dollars to Orange County. During that time period, my opponent was mismanaging CalOptima, our county's health care plan. This is the reason why I'm running. I want good management. I teach policy evaluation. I want all of these county programs evaluated. I want to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are being used the way they're supposed to be used correctly and money is not being wasted. I want to tell you that members of Congress would never vote for a program for the next year if they didn't have the evidence or the data in their hands to show that that program was meeting its goals. So this is really, really critical. There's a lot of loss of money right now going on that I see. I don't see programs being evaluated at the county. So I want to make sure the service infrastructure, housing, healthcare, all those issues, all those departments have evaluations of all the work that's being done. It's really, really critical. We need the evidence and the data. And I'm a professor. I teach students, undergraduate students that are deaf and hard of hearing. And so one of the things that I teach my students is that, the policy has to cover and take care of everybody, and it's got to be laid out equitably, and people need to get the services that they need. So, and also, I don't know, at the county level too, one of the issues is disability policy. Nobody's really talked about this. I want to bring that to the forefront. So there's people in Rossmoor that have disabilities. I want to make sure that their needs are taken care of. I want to make sure when they walk into the County Board of Supervisors room that there's closed captions already on the screen. They don't need to ask for things ahead of time. So I want to make sure there's analysis of disability access for everyone in Orange County.
Thank you. What steps would you take to address the development of zoning issues that may affect Rossmoor, particularly when it comes to preserving the character of our neighborhoods?
So I was reading about Rossmoor this week, and this community is a gem, the history, everything. I thought, wow, no wonder why it's such a special community. Every time I drive in here, it's like beautifully taken care of, and you're very lucky to live here. And I want to make sure that I get feedback from you regarding zoning issues. I'm not going to move forward unless I talk to the community leaders here from the district, all of you and residents, you know, to talk to you about plans for zoning. You know, I don't want to, I talked to a district member the other day who said, like, make sure you get feedback from people, and that's what I always do. I don't move forward with anything until I've talked to the community involved. So it's really, I just want you to know I'm somebody that, I'm knocking on doors right now. I knocked on a lot of doors here in Rossmoor in the primary. Last week we hit 317 doors in Garden Grove, and I'm telling people, this is the kind of service you're gonna get. I'm here at your door. A lot of people in Cypress know me. They have my cell number. It's very unusual for a member to give out their number, but you know, if you need something, you can call me. And that's just the access. I think this is public service. This is what it's about, making sure that you are heard.
So the question's related to e-bike use. And it's, is there a law or new legislation that you would support related to e-bike ownership and use that would enhance safety for everybody?
So this is something that I'm not an expert in at the moment, but I've been reading a little bit and seeing that there's a lot of accidents going on. And I had a neighbor call me, he is not in my direct neighborhood in Cypress, and said, you know, my neighbor next door got hit by an e-bike. You know, I want to make sure we do something, because I see kids driving around and on sidewalks fast, you know, and somebody's going to get knocked out, and people have been getting knocked out. So I will study the issue and make sure that we do something about it, because it's, you know, I was thinking when I was a student at UCLA, I had a little scooter, you know, and I'd wear a helmet. And it was a scooter, though. It was, you know, a vehicle. And now I'm like, now there's bikes with motors on them, and there's no rules to really protect people. So that's something I will look into, definitely, because I don't want people getting into accidents. I'm with my mother at Costco. Let me just give you an example. And I'm constantly like, she hangs onto the basket, and I tell her, do not walk away from me. Because I have a neighbor that lives behind me that was hit really badly by a cart at Costco. So I'm very, falls and things like that, I'm very aware, and I want to make sure we prevent things like that. I mean, this is about making sure people are protected. You know, I protect my mom every day in the work that I do. I mean, just to take care of her while I'm working, and I want to make sure every senior is taken care of, and every resident, a little, you know, if a child's walking and I don't want them to get hit by a bike that's going by, you know, 50 miles an hour. So this is about, again, the delivery of services, making people, the quality of life here, that it's safe and people are protected.
Okay. Are there any specific areas that you believe Rossmoor should have more or less local control related to service contracts within the community? What are the pros and cons of such an idea?
You know, this is another thing about getting feedback from you guys. I did talk to some people, and these are the things that I want to just tell you that I was told that, like, you guys, you really need to focus and make sure that you're attentive supervisor. I will be attentive. So you can tell this is what I love to do. This is my favorite part of my job, being a council member in Cypress, just helping people problem solve. So I'll be getting feedback from you, but issues like vector control, I was told, are an issue. Public works, keeping storm channels cleared to avoid mosquito breeding and stench. Street sweepers, ensuring all areas are taken care of, and if the area is missed, make sure it's immediately followed up. Sheriff patrols. You know, these are things that, you know, I'm going to ask you, get your feedback. How are things going? Do you feel secure? What are the issues with public safety here? I want to make sure that there's enough support on the streets. And in Cypress, I've supported everything that our police officers have asked for to make sure people are secure. Senior programming. I want to make sure to provide resources for senior programming to go beyond what it is now. I take care of my mom, who's a senior. She goes to the senior center in Cypress for her weekly class on Monday and Friday. So I just want to make sure there's a variety, because the community also is becoming more diverse. And so people, there's different needs. Library funding as well. I want to meet with you guys to make sure that the funding remains stable and is even increased. As a professor, you know, a library can open up a world to anybody, to a senior, to a child. You know, I'd love to have guest speakers come in and talk. You know, when I lived in Washington, D.C., when I was working on Capitol Hill, like you could go to the National Archives for a talk and an expert would be there. That would be nice to bring that to our seniors here and young people to hear from more experts. But just the supplies of just books and access to resources, research for the students. You know, I feel blessed that I was raised in Cyprus and went through a good school system. The students here go through a great school system. I want to make sure that our next generation has everything they need. I was lucky to become well-educated again and go through a good school system. You know, that's why I'm here, giving back. That's why I came back to run in Cyprus and to run for this position because I feel that I'm prepared.
Excellent. So we've got a minute or so set aside for you to share any closing thoughts if you have anything additional for the community.
I just want to say again, I care deeply about people. Accessibility is really critical to me for us to have a relationship and to make sure that your needs are being addressed. I will hire people from the community that know Rossmoor to represent this community, to get the feedback from all of you, and I will be present and visible. And you know, it would be an honor to represent this community. I want you to know that in Cyprus, I've fought for residents at every level, even when I was doing it by myself, and have been deterred. To this day, I'm the one, there's two of us now, but it was 4-1 when I first got on the council. And every time I spoke out against a trash contract, we have a trash contract in Cyprus that was extended 10 years with no bids, with a 32% rate increase that's not fixed. I called it out. And I'm going to do that to protect you guys. I want you to know that I will be, every contract I get, every document, I review everything carefully. Having worked on Capitol Hill, we used to have bills that were like 800 pages, and there would be things slid into the bill on page, 542 to hide from people. So you have to, I know the shenanigans that are pulled in government. I've had a lot of training with my colleagues, and I want to share with you at the Board of Supervisors I want you to let me finish this thought. In November 28th last year, 2023, I went to the board when I heard and read Nick Gerda's article that Andrew Doe had taken a vote on a $3.1 million contract, knowing that funding was going to the nonprofit, his friend's nonprofit where his daughter worked, never disclosed the family relationship or the relationship with the friend. You're supposed to recuse yourself. In sign language, this means to step back and recuse yourself. I just want to finish this for a moment. What I found out that day is I arrived, the item had been pulled. And
we're going to give you 30 seconds.
The item had been pulled to protect the member, so nobody would know. I want you to know, I got there at 9:30. I stayed till 2:45 to speak at public comment because I wanted the people of Orange County to know about the troubling allegations and that there was corruption. That was almost 9 months ago. If I was on that board, it would have been called out a lot earlier. So I want you to know that I'm going to be watching every tax dollar and protecting each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Frances. We thank you for your time this evening. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Next set.
Next up, am I on? Will be the candidates for the Rossmoor Community Services District. I'm going to quick change the nameplates and put up some water, and we will resume with the final set of candidates. Everybody settled in? It's my pleasure to introduce the three candidates for the Rossmoor Community Services District. In order of seating, we have Konya Vivanti, Tony DeMarco, and Mary Ann Remne. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to spend the evening with us. We're going to start with, and we're going to rotate the order a little bit because we did organically see some advantage to going first or second. So we'll organically rotate it a bit. But for the intro and the first question, the order will be the same. We'll start with Tony, and it was done by draw, so we did a little hat draw. We'll start with Tony, then we'll go to Mary, then to Kanya. Mary Ann, I'm sorry. Mary Ann, and then to Kanya. And we'd like to give you 2 minutes to just share a little bit about yourself and what you'd like to do with the community.
Great.
And this is for the Rossmoor Community Service District Board positions. Tony?
Okay, thank you. Bob, Marion, thank you very much for putting this on and being here. I want to thank the RHA for putting this on. I know it's took a lot of work, so I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony DeMarco. I'm honored to be here before you, and I'm running for Rossmoor Community Services Director. My journey to the beautiful Rossmoor began in 2005. My wife and I and my family moved here. We raised all three of our kids. They're finally out of the house, and we're empty nesters now. I'd like to give back to my community. I've been on the current board since 2013. I have a small store in unincorporated East Los Angeles. There I'm the president of the Merchant Association on Whittier Boulevard. I'm also a pawnbroker, and we have a state association. I'm past president of that association. I'm current ledge chair of that association. We just got the governor to sign 2 of our bills this year. So I bring to the board of Rossmoor, or to the community, a lot of lifelong lessons and being in county. I bring connections with county officials. I know how the county works, the departments that are made up of the county. In Sacramento, I know how that works. And all of that affects our little tiny community, great community of Rossmoor. So I enjoy being, oh, that was 2 minutes. Okay, we'll be back. Thank you. That went quick.
2 minutes?
First of all, thank you, RHA, for putting this on, because as we know, we're getting fewer and fewer opportunities to be able to get our message out to the people, and we do work to serve you. So everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. It's really great to see so many familiar faces and new ones. It really shows how much we care about our community. I've been part of Rossmoor for 30 years, over 30 years, marrying into an original owner family. Like a lot of people in the sandwich generation, we found ourselves coming back more and more frequently to help our aging parents. And then eventually we moved back full-time in 2011 to help Art's dad and become caregivers for him. That experience gave me a great understanding of what's important to everyone that lives in this community, from families to retirees. I've worked with local schools. I'm a volunteer at a lot of levels, a lot of places, and supported youth programs and teamed up with citizen advisory groups on projects that really make a difference to the people in all of our communities, Rossmoor and the surrounding areas. Whether it's creating opportunities for kids or making sure seniors have what they need to feel valued and secure, I'm committed to making Rossmoor a place where everyone feels like they belong. I'm running for the Community Services District Board to keep advocating for our parks and facilities. The shared spaces that we committed to take care of when we voted to authorize through bonds that purchased these properties and the fundings to take care of them. Tonight, I'm eager to answer any questions that are presented to me, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of things that aren't answered. I'm always available and want you to be finding me prior to making your voice to make sure that, one, I know what you want represented, and two, that I'm representing what's good for the community. So I have, if you don't have one now, this looks a lot like my sign. It has an availability of how to reach me, and also the main things that I represent and that I believe in.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Kanya, 2 minutes,
Thank you.
introduction.
Hi, my name's Konya Vivanti. I have lived in Rossmoor for 27 years. I've raised 2 adult daughters now, who I'm also now an empty nester, and getting used to that. I have a unique experience. I have worked in the last 30 years in local government, and so I bring to the district something a little different than other people who might currently be on the board or running on the board. So my experience has been in trash and recycling, in stormwater and sewer, in tree maintenance, street sweeping. I currently oversee a $6.8 million trash contract. I currently am working in local government. I've worked for a city for the last 18 years. And prior to that, I've worked for other cities such as Garden Grove, Culver City, but I started my public service career 30 years ago with the County of Orange as an intern. So I am very intimately aware of who to speak to and who to reach out to get problems solved. I've worked in public works my entire career and also have a background in transportation. Just a little about me. I have a master's degree in public administration, so that's another aspect that I bring to the district as a director. I feel that living in Rossmoor is a joy, and I'm so thankful that I live here, and it just figured it was time to finally give back to my own community. Having worked in other communities and working for them, it's time to work for my own community here and give back my skill set and my expertise to Rossmoor residents. Thank you.
Tony, I'll start question 1 with you. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what is one thing you'd like to improve within Rossmoor community limits?
One thing.
One thing. Well, the question's one thing.
Let's see, I had my list here. And remember, we only have jurisdiction in 4 things, yet we talk a lot, or we help solve many things that affect Rossmoor. I think for me, it's always been public safety and the community's safety. Having 3 kids roaming around Rossmoor streets, I always wanted them safe and secure. I think the one thing that, the parks are fantastic. We need to manage them. We need to manage street sweeping, our lights. But I don't like the theft and the burglaries that are happening in Rossmoor. And I would like to look into getting license plate readers at our entries or exits in Rossmoor. I know that there is a web of these cameras all throughout Orange County, and they are solving a lot of, catching a lot of bad guys. And I've been sitting on this board too long and seeing the reports every quarter about catalytic converters, about just the other day was a license plate that was stolen. And I would like to see or look into having those put into Rossmoor. Thank you.
Mary Ann, same question. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what's one thing you'd like to improve within Rossmoor community limits?
Within the community limits really pertains to my role as a director and what I'd like to improve within the directorship. And that would be aligning the policies and the plans of our community so that we can advance our community. One of the things that I see, and here's an example of that, we have a playground, and the playground structure in it was put in place in 2001, and we're told, we patch it, we fix it, we repair it. Once upon a time, it was going to be replaced with a grant. We did other things with it, so I'm not criticizing that. But to be able to get grant money, there has to be positive involvement. There has to be a way to have a plan for if we get a grant, what are we going to do with it? Those plans don't exist anymore, and that concerns me because nationwide, 200,000 kids a year make emergency room visits, and a lot of them get traumatic brain injuries. Of that, I don't want any kids hurt, and I don't want insurance claims. We really do need parks that are up to what the community needs, including ADA accessibility. The second thing, and that is the planning component. The policy side of life is related to the playground and the grants. We have things that are outdated, like it relates to work within Fund 40. Fund 40 is the capital improvement reserves. That was depleted and closed about 3 or 4 years ago. We don't have any dedicated capital reserves to be planning for our future. These are things that it's not up to me to do. It's up to the administration and general manager to plan for and for the directors to guide it. And the community should know where things are going. So those are the things I find really important and that I would be focusing on.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Kanya, same question. If elected to represent our beautiful neighborhood of Rossmoor, what's one thing you'd like to improve within our Rossmoor community limits?
One of the things that I'm interested is maintaining our current infrastructure, and doing so working with the different agencies to make sure that Rossmoor is represented and not forgotten. So whether it's at the county level or with the LaSalle Sewer or with any other agency, I want to make sure that our sidewalks are maintained, our streets are maintained, our trash services picked up, and that our street lights are maintained, but really the infrastructure, which also includes the parks, and that they're well maintained, and that we're not wasting water, irrigation is fixed, and that the playgrounds and all the equipment is safe for our children to play on, and that they're inspected on a regular basis. So just basic overall infrastructure is something that is very important to me.
Thank you, Kanya.
All right. Mary Ann, I'll be asking you the next question, followed by Kanya and then Tony. Try to give you guys some order there. The question is, and I'll repeat the question each time to each one of you, so you don't have to worry about that. Mary Ann, what can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
That's an interesting question because e-bikes is something that is being struggled with at a statewide level all the way down. I serve on the Orange County Transportation Administration Citizens Advisory Commission for Active Transportation and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Subcommittee. And we meet on a monthly basis to talk about what's happening with legislation, what are other communities doing, what ideas do you have for our community, what makes things better. Currently, last Tuesday, I met and found out that there's some grant money coming available that the OCTA is working with to run studies to be able to get the data to say, how safe are our streets? What are the injuries? What's going on? What would help so that we're actually looking at what's happening before we start telling people what to do and what not to do. It's complex because we have seniors who are finding bicycles, e-bikes, easier to use. And when we have seniors that are living a mile from a park, I'd like them to be able to get to our parks. When we have kids that are being trained in our schools, okay, we can do better. Let's work on doing that. But let's work as a team to see how we can open up and expand things. If we're talking about e-bikes, I'd like to see and be able to talk about how do we find a way to protect the bikes so that people can ride them to be in our parks. We have a bicycle group, Bike Rossmoor, that actually puts a person in our park for our festivals and watches up to 50 bikes so that we can sit and listen to the events. Why aren't we talking about bike lockers? Why do we have to bring them into places so that we can keep our eyes on them? There's a whole lot of things besides bikes on the road that bikes need to be addressed on, and that's why I'm at monthly meetings trying to get answers from what other places are doing, what we can do, what's reasonable, and what we can ask for, so that we can collectively solve those problems.
Thank you. Kanya, the same question. What can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I frequent Rossmoor Park a lot, and there's been many times where there's been some hit and misses myself with me walking my dog with e-bikes. So I'm really not real thrilled to see the e-bikes being ridden on the actual turf of our park, ruining our turf. Some of these kids are really tearing it up. And so one of the things I would do is, and it's been a growing problem with lots of other cities in Southern California, is kind of take a survey and see what are other cities doing to deal with this. Some of them have policies in place, and kind of see what are other cities doing, and maybe we could mirror some of that. Obviously, we want to share the road with bikes and cars and people and everything else, but you know, it is a complex issue. I think maybe some type of safety workshops at schools, getting more education out to the parents who purchase these bikes for their kids. I don't think they realize how fast these things go and what their kids are doing. I've seen them at Target, one girl riding, one girl on the back but facing the wrong way. I don't know how she's hanging on. A car stops. I mean, I'm just really waiting for the worst to happen. And I think until, unfortunately, something happens like that, then people are going to start waking up, and that's really unfortunate. I'd like to see maybe some type of safety expo here at Rush Park, where we have some bike information. We invite all the families to come. We invite our fire department and the sheriff department, and provide information, education on bike safety to the residents. But it is definitely a concerning problem and unfortunately very complex.
Tony, I'll repeat the question. What can be done to ensure safety in the neighborhood regarding e-bike riding for pedestrians, vehicle drivers, and e-bike operators alike?
Great, good question, great question. So, and this has been a big deal. We have many people come to our board and complain about this. I certainly see this all the time. I think it comes down to education and enforcement. So the education, I know the CHP has been out and having either bike educational days out in the parking lot here at Rush, but I think also the school district has had educational programs. I know that they're trying to enforce the helmets, but honestly, I don't think many of the parents in Rossmoor understand the dangers giving a 8 or 9-year-old boy or girl either a pedaled or unpedaled electric bike that may go 25 to 35 miles an hour. I don't think parents really understand how dangerous that is. So I would say, again, we don't have the jurisdiction in this, but educating, constantly putting it out there, having programs, talking with the school district. Again, a thought that comes to my mind is, would it be terrible to not permit them to go to school on an e-bike? We used to do that. I mean, we just ride our bike, right? So Again, I don't know if that's going to work, but it is at night here in Rossmoor and at the shops. It is a very dangerous scene when you have 5 to 15 kids on bikes, and they get a little emboldened. And when they're by themselves, they're okay, but when they get 10 or 15, they cause problem and weave inside the traffic. I fear that someone's going to get hurt on the bike, and it's going to be one of our sons and daughters. So again, education. The sheriff needs to either write tickets or bring the bike and the person or the child home to the parent and let them know what is happening. Maybe even video of what they're doing and send that to the parent, because I really think the parents have no idea what these kids are doing on these e-bikes, and what I've personally seen is very, very dangerous activity.
All right, for the third question, we'll start with Konya, then Tony, then Mary Ann. And the topic's come up a couple of times. As we're a small community, many of these topics will repeat. But specifically on this one, some residents have noted that our 2 parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support? And what improvements and other community services would you like to see? Konya?
One of the things that I'd like to see is at our parks, particularly on the weekends, is to have a little more supervision on the parks. I know that does cost a little money, but have a part-time rec leader who is there, particularly on the weekends, because that's when a lot of things occur on the parks. I've been there and I've seen kids on top of the containers at Rossmoor Park, climbing up and doing crazy stuff. So I would like to see a little bit more supervision, at least on the weekends, because that's when the parks are really more crowded. Again, making sure that our playgrounds are safe. When was the last inspection that we had on the playground equipment? Making sure that the turf is maintained and there's no holes. We don't want people falling, and that's why bringing back the e-bikes and the regular bikes, these kids are riding on the grass, and then there's kids who are playing on the grass, and there's a hole or whatever because of e-bike. Now we're looking at an accident to happen, and I don't, trying to avoid liability is really key in local government. So I would like to see that. But I just want to make sure that it's well maintained, that the sidewalks around the park are even and flat. We have a lot of people walking. We have people of all generations walking, and so everything needs just to be well maintained. That's pretty much what I'd like to see at the parks.
Thank you, Konya. Tony, same question. Some residents have noted that our 2 parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support? And what improvements and other community services would you like to see?
And I only have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got to remember that we only have a budget of just under $2 million a year. Okay, so what I would like to see is, I would like to see all kinds of things, but what can Rossmoor afford is something else. But certainly, we've, I don't know, in terms of outdated, I don't know how outdated this park is. The facility in here has been improved. We've got brand new flooring. We rent this out now. We put in actually a dance floor here, which hopefully we can get more use out of it. Could we get some more grant funding? We got a grant in the last few years for $160,000. We're making good use out of that. We've resurfaced our courts. We put new soft sand in the volleyball. It would be great to improve the parks and build things, but as we all know, in California and everywhere, building something is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I would love to, build out and make things, improved in terms of whether it's for the kids or for the, the senior citizens. I can say this, that if, it's brought up that, maybe some of our things are not ADA compliant. If something's in our park is not ADA compliant, and I know about it, we're gonna fix it. So I don't know of anything that we're not ADA compliant. Another thing here at Rush is I'd like to have more bathrooms, so when we have festivals for hundreds of people, we're more accommodating. So that's would be, again, that's an expensive improvement, but that's something that I would be for. I think that, the maintenance, and I mean, I believe we do a very good job on the maintenance. We just reseeded out here at Rush, the lawn. It gets, we use our parks a lot. Certainly there is wear and tear, but things cost so much. Even a new kid playground, where it used to cost a few $100,000 is a few $1 million now. So we just need to either put money aside, get matching grant money to improve. I would be for all of that. Anything to improve our parks, to make them up to date or more up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Mary Ann, same question.
You're
Some re-
probably hitting one of my hot buttons.
Well, you want the question or you got it?
Go ahead and read it.
Okay. Some residents have noted, you're not stealing my thunder, it's okay. Some residents have noted that our two parks seem a bit outdated. If elected, what specific park improvements and upgrades would you support, and what improvements in other community services would you like to see?
The first thing that I would support, again, is policies and plans, because our parks do not have a 5-year capital improvement plan. We don't talk about what we're going to do next year and the next year and the next year. We talk about what do we want in the budget this year. And we're normally talking about fixing and repairing. And the grant that we got, a $185,000 grant that had 20% on top of that to make improvements to our park. We're still working on it. It has one actual improvement to it, and that is a canopy that's taken 5 years. The one that was improved before in Rush Park was put in place in 2014, and it was 5 months from start to finish. That's just one item in a park. What do we need to do? How do we need to do it? You can't get grant money if you can't tell them how you're going to use the money. We got the grant we have because it was a non-competitive grant that said, you pay taxes, you get it. There were 4 rounds after that we could have applied for competitively, and we had nothing to compete with. So what we need is a plan to say, what are we doing, how is it working, and how's it going together? That's just the money aspect. When we get to the other aspect and we put things in place in our park, have we looked at what our residents want and what they need and how it works? And I hate to bring up this horrible word of pickleball, but putting pickleball in the middle of a park 2 months after you bring the guy in talking about the wonderful robin nests in the park that are no longer there anymore because pickleball is annoying them too. There's appropriate uses, and pickleball probably should be here. It's a great exercise. But we really need to look at what we're doing, where we're doing things, and how it affects all of our residents, because it's our residents' community open space properties, and it needs to serve us now and into the future. And we have to talk about what we can do and not what we're limited from doing. We have 4 brand new playgrounds in our schools, planned for. We have 3 communities that used their grant money as match money, working with other communities to raise more money to improve their parks. We're resurfacing and repatching and maintaining because we can't figure out how to do better. And that's not a complaint on what we've done, because our parks are really good, but we can do so much more if we work together as a community. And to that, I would like to talk about RHA and the full community that paid for both of our playgrounds through raising money. When you see those painted tiles, those were $100 a piece as a match with the manufacturer of the playground equipment to make sure that our kids were ADA compliant, and that was done in 2014. That's the type of thing we can do and we should be doing.
Thank you, Marianne. The next question, and I'll give you the order, will be Tony, Marianne, and Kanya. Okay. Are there any specific areas that you believe RCSD should have more or less local control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons of each?
I think in 1986, I wasn't here, but I think we should have, we didn't have to take them all over, but we should have asked for all of the latent powers. So we all heard tonight, and thank you RHA for bringing all our candidates and elected leaders here. But every time Rossmoor, needs to or wants to hear information about, let's say, a trash contract, we are held to what the county wants. We have to go through somebody who does not live in Rossmoor. Okay, so I would say any and all contracts that have to do with the unincorporated area of Rossmoor should be managed by the RCSD. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's local elected leaders managing a contract, okay? We meet every second Tuesday of every month. We have, all these contracts would go through committees, just like our street sweeping. Again, I hear that we're having, a little bit of issues with some street sweeping problems. We manage that contract. We can bring the contractor back in, okay? On trash, we can't, okay? Trash goes to the county. Vector control, county. Mosquito, county. Animal control, county. The coyotes come and kill all our pets. We rely on the county. That's the county contracts, not our contract. So I would say, I would want to look at all. I'm not saying I would want to take them all over. I would want to have it should be the residents of Rossmoor that dictate all of who contracts here. We should be able to have control over all of that. And that's just how I feel. We don't need to be a city to do that, okay? The RCSD can do that. We just have to have that power to do it. So that's my opinion. I would say if it's doable and we can handle it, the county makes more money than the contract a lot of times. And I know that taxation, great question. I've never heard of the 5%, okay, that you asked the assembly members. Are we getting all our money that we should be getting? Who knows? I mean, it's a formula that they devised in 1986. Have we looked at it? Are we getting all our money back? I know my house has doubled in price. We getting all our proper taxes back? And the more we take over, the more benefit locally our residents are going to have. Thank you.
Marianne, the same question. Are there any specific areas that you believe the RCSD should have more or less local control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons that you see related to those?
I think, first of all, I need to say that I am a proponent of local control. If we did not have local control, we would not have our parks, we would not have the RCSD. Rossmoor wanted to take care of 2 parcels of land, and the county carved out money for us to be able to have control of our land and what to do with it and how to manage it. My concern about getting more or less control at this point is I don't see where we're getting anything other more overhead and administration. We get $2 million a year to run our parks. And of that $2 million, half of it is going to administration and overhead. And we talk about not being able to afford things in our parks. So when you talk about things with getting more contract and oversight of Vector and stormwater and those things, let's turn our eyes inward. I was sent a picture today of gutter water running through and by our parks. We're telling people all the time, don't let your properties do that, because when your properties are spilling over into the gutters. It's going into the stormwater. When it goes into the storm drains, algae happens. If we're telling our residents that, our directors and our administration needs to look at the same thing because it's breeding grounds for mosquitoes. We can take care of minimizing some of our own mosquitoes instead of saying, I want more control to tell somebody else to do more and better for us, because all that does is raise the overhead in the paperwork, and we need more money coming into our parks as opposed to approving and asking for more to do that's already being managed by our county, as evidenced by all the times we hear, we don't have oversight of that. We don't have oversight of that. We're not going to start doing those jobs. We're just going to tell other people to do the jobs different. We need to be using our money, our local control money, to run our parks. And when those are going great and we can no longer do it, let's reach out and get more. But to ask for more when we can do better in our parks first, that's what I'm for.
Thank you, Marianne. Kanya, same question. Are there any specific areas that you believe the RCSD should have more or less control related to service contracts within Rossmoor, and what are the pros and cons of those issues?
Thank you. I think the district should be more involved in all the contracts that affect Rossmoor, whether it's trash or animal control. And I would like to work closer with our new supervisor. We're going to get a new supervisor for Rossmoor, and the district needs to work closely with our supervisor to make sure that we're represented in those contracts, that we get to take a look at them and maybe have some type of say in it. And I think that's really important. The other thing is that having worked for a city or cities for over 30 years, things are expensive. And so, I'm not in favor of us taking over things that we cannot manage or maintain without having to tax ourselves to death. So, we're unincorporated, and we only have certain powers, but I would like to see more involvement for us as the district, as the directors, to be involved in some of the say of those contracts, because it does affect us. And the county seat in Santa Ana doesn't necessarily come over here and see what's going on. And so we just need to make our voice louder. And I think having a new supervisor will give us that opportunity that we could work closely with them to have more involvement in some of these contracts, like the trash contract, like some of the things happening in public works that affect Rossmoor. So that's something that I would like to see. But cost is an issue, and things are very expensive now. To do improvements anywhere cost millions of dollars, and so we just don't have that kind of money. And I certainly am not in favor of taxing our residents to death to become incorporated. So that's really how I feel about that.
All right, we're on to our final question. After this question, you'll each have a short time to share any final thoughts that you have. And the order for this question will be Marianne, then Kanya, and we'll end with Tony on this question. Little context and then the question. I guess I get the context questions of the evening. In a recent
nicer voice.
Was that what it is? I don't think so. We all know that's not true. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements here within Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within the community? And we'll start with Marianne.
First of all, I would start with improving communication. We all know that it's getting more and more difficult to get the word out. We have a newspaper that we are trying desperately to help stay in business, because I believe in power of journalism and journalism rights and things that are going on. I believe in helping our seniors learn about the internet and how to use email and social media safely, not because they have to, but because it's another option. When we can get the word out in as many ways as possible, we get more than 200 responses. There was one stat that we were given that said about, I think it was 1,400 or 1,500 emails went out to the community, and within a half an hour, after midnight, 200 of them were opened within a half an hour. These are the type of things that when I see surveys that have a response of 250 people, and we are a community of 10,500 people, we're not reaching our community. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is, as a district, in the policy, and I hate being the policy person, but it says that the RCSD will be sending out a newsletter quarterly to our community. We haven't had one since 2022. These are the things, either change the policy or get the information out. But communication is at the core of what we need to do to be able to get things moving differently.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Kanya, same question. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements in Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within our community?
Thank you. What I would like to see is more periodic workshops and meetings to obtain the residents' input on issues occurring in Rossmoor. And by getting the word out, whether it's social media, newsletters. I know that the district had a newsletter. I don't know if I've seen it as of late. The Homeowners Association has also, put a lot of information out for residents. But I also know that a lot of residents are busy with their lives and their kids, and they just go about their day and they don't think about that. So, I think with, the district directors, having more workshops or informal meetings, whether it's by neighborhoods or piggybacking on neighborhood watch meetings and getting input from residents, just to see what, take the temperature of the neighborhoods of the different areas and see what it is that, the issues are and how, they can be addressed and possibly and hopefully solved.
Tony, same question, last question of the evening. In a recent survey, less than 250 responses were received from residents related to community service improvements in Rossmoor. How specifically do you plan to get greater involvement from residents to better guide decision-making to address the evolving needs within our community?
It's a constant struggle. So as a current board member, I love it when there's 50 or 75 people in our meeting, okay? Whether it's because we did something wrong or people have other opinions, because you get engagement. Most of the time, it's crickets out there at our meetings. So we have 12 meetings a year, and we have, 35 to 50 committee meetings that are noticed. We have a brand new website. We have social media. As Konya has said, people just have busy lives, okay? I know when I got on this board, I would say more than half of Rossmoor didn't even know we had a district, okay? So, and I'm sure there's a large percentage that still doesn't know we have a service district with elected board members. So I know that the current board and the current district is doing everything it can to engage in our community. We have family fun festivals, we have winter festivals, we do have meetings and town halls and stuff like that. I would say that, the RHA puts out a magazine. We stopped putting out a magazine, I think, after COVID, okay? But now we send it digitally. But RHA still puts out, I believe, a paper magazine. Sounds great. I love getting a magazine. I'd love to partner with RHA. Our CSD should partner with RHA to send out a paper magazine, if that's what the community wants. So we need to ask the community what they want. But its engagement has been, it's not for lacking of trying, it's just hard to engage Rossmoor when pretty much most of the time everything is perfect here. Everything's good here, okay? We live in an incredible community, okay? We have great schools, our houses are worth a lot of money, low crime. You know, I spoke up about catalytic converters being stolen. That's what we talk about, okay? The negative on our parks is not crime or anything, it's pickleball. That's the negative about our parks, okay? We live in a wonderful community. We certainly can do better and make improvements, but getting people engaged is a tricky thing. And a lot of people just, we'll worry about it tomorrow. So I think that we continue working with websites, social media, paper. You know, paper's just a tough one. Thank you.
Certainly want to thank each one of you for recognizing the time frame. That is very honorable, and it speaks volumes to all of us. Thank you for that. Well, we do have a closing opportunity for each of you. It's going to be a 1-minute closing remarks for you. It's going to be Kanya, Tony, and Marianne would be the order. And I don't have to ask you a question because you're just going to tell me what you want to summarize after this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, just to recap, you know, I'm interested in joining the Rossmoor Community Service District as a director. I want to make sure that the district's policies are adhered to and that public funds are spent on fiscally responsible projects and programs that benefit all the residents of Rossmoor. I know that we have limited authority, but I want to make sure that county services are provided to Rossmoor in a timely manner. And I believe that my experience working in local government over the last 30 years will allow the district to straighten this relationship with the county and the surrounding cities. So that's why I'm interested in being one of the directors for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanya. Tony?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm doing this, RHA. So let's see. Let's just go. Let's just go. In the last few years, we've enhanced the tree permit process. We've converted all the LED lights. We've completely overhauled the street sweeping to allow our residents, because this was a huge deal, to give our residents parking options. Again, we still are working on enforcement, though, but we definitely have options for our residents. We have incredible programs at the parks right now. We're developing senior programs. We have fantastic summer festivals with, you know, thousands of people attending. Things that I would like to, I already mentioned one, I'd like to look into, and I do this at the meetings too. I might have ideas, but if it's shot down by the community, we just don't do it. I didn't get to it. Come and see me afterwards.
Thank you, Tony. Marianne?
There are 3 seats up for election, and I need one of them. And I'm asking for your vote, but really what I'm asking for is your voice. I want you to bring your concerns about our community and what we can do to make our community great. And in that, I'm asking for, I'll make myself available to you. I think as a director, I don't want another meeting. I want my neighbors socializing with me in the park. I'll bring my sandwich, you bring your sandwich. Let's talk. Let's be friends and neighbors rather than waiting till there's something to complain about. I really think that it's that we need to focus on our parks as community spaces, as healthy social gathering places. We shouldn't have anybody that feels alone. And our parks are the place we convene as a community. So let's start with that. So let's work together to make this work. I really need your voices. I really need your votes. And it isn't, the ending isn't getting me elected. That's my starting point, and I really want to work with you and have you work with me.
Thank you, Mary Ann. To you, Denise, thank you.
John, thank you. Thank you again to all of you who stayed with us in the audience. It means the world to have the community show up to these events. Thank you for that. Thank you to our congressional candidate. Thank you to our assembly candidates. Thank you to our Board of Supervisor candidate. And thank you in particular to the most local of all of you, the 3 candidates for the RCSD. Thank you to the RCSD for allowing us to use this facility. And finally, and certainly not last, thank you to the Rossmoor Homeowners Association for all the work that goes into putting on these candidate forums. You're the best.